While walking aimlessly around the city of Lome, Togo's capital, I stumbled upon a football match between two amateur teams. In my last video, I was in Ouidah, Benin Republic, and I visited the popular Snake Temple and the infamous Point of No Return, where thousands or hundreds of thousands of slaves, maybe millions, were shipped off to Europe and the Americas. After a full day in Ouidah, I traveled to Lome, Togo at night, and now here we are. Football or soccer is one of the world's greatest equalizers. In every corner of the globe, you'll find people enjoying the joys of the beautiful sport. And while on a trip in Lome, Togo, I stumbled upon a seemingly serious match between two teams I do not know, and I had no choice but to walk in and enjoy the game. But before that, I had to start my day with the beautiful and tasty meal of Attieke. I first learned about Attieke and I first tasted Attieke in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. Attieke has become one of my favorite meals. Unfortunately, it's not readily available in Lagos, Nigeria, which is where I live. Unfortunately, the houseflies also wanted to have a taste of my Attieke a poisson, but I had to battle them. There was only enough food for me. When I visited Lome, I really had limited plans on what to do. I just wanted to go there and have the time of my life. And this is not to say that there isn't a lot to do in this country, but I just found that Togo didn't really have a lot for me. As mentioned earlier, while walking aimlessly through the city, I stumbled upon this game. It's been a couple months since the game, and I don't know who was involved. I don't know whether they were football teams. I don't know that they were from schools. I do not know anything about the game. All I know is while walking past the stadium, I saw a lot of people. I went in. I asked for the price of the tickets. They said 100 CFA, 100 francs. I paid. I got in. People were singing, people were shouting, people were having the time of their life, and that's all I know about it. Using my expert deduction skills, I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that the game was between two teams of probably 14 to 18-year-olds. I looked at the crowd around me, and a lot of them seemed to be around secondary school or high school age, and I used that to judge or to guess that the game was probably between two schools. I might be wrong though, I probably am. It might not seem like it, but Togo is one of the smaller countries that has had a beautiful and interesting experience in the global football stage. In 2006, Togo shocked the world by qualifying for the first and to date only World Cup. This was very surprising because Togo has never been a football powerhouse. But that year, they shocked everybody and went to the World Cup, which is an achievement in itself. So I'll give them that. Emmanuel Adebayo is perhaps Togo's best footballer in recent memory. Maybe of all time, but I can't make that claim because I do not know. Unfortunately, over the last few years, Togo football's fortunes are dwindled significantly, and this team went from being one of the most promising to now being relatively fringe and on the outskirts of African football. But competitions taking place in prestigious stadiums like this gives me hope that in the future, if the right decisions are made and the right actions are taken, definitely Togo has what it takes to compete within the region and internationally. Looking at the people around me, it's no surprise that Togolese are passionate about football. In most places in Africa, football is the main religion. It goes beyond just the sport, and when the national teams are playing, the entire country stops. Civil wars pause, and everybody puts aside their differences just to support the national team. As mentioned earlier, I do not know who was playing. I would be lying if I said I did. I could not ask because my French leaves much to be desired. But the people around me seem to be really interested and really excited, and I'm sure you would agree with the footage that you're seeing. When I arrived, the game was already underway, and in the first few minutes, the team on black really pressed, and they had some beautiful football. I fully expected them to dominate the game, but I was so wrong. The team on yellow totally dominated and kept scoring back to back, and I moved between the supporter base of both teams. It was exciting and frankly beautiful to see how the supporters, the fans were celebrating with every goal, with every touch. Songs were playing. They were the ones singing the song. It was just a beautiful experience. Football is a sport that goes beyond common sense. I've seen people give everything they could to the sport without any hope of ever going pro or making money from it. Most of these kids here are not getting paid. but they are just happy to be on this stage. They are happy to play the game they love, and they are happy to do it in front of the people that they care about. And isn't that what matters the most in football? Enjoying the experience and giving it your all. After all is said and done, or after all was said and done, I witnessed 3 goals from the yellow teams and none for team in black. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that the game ended 3-0. I'm probably wrong, but let's use the evidence we have to come up with our answer. Team spirit wasn't in short supply throughout this game, and you could see how these boys were really rallying behind each other. Those on the bench were supporting those on the field, and on both sides of the pitch. To the final whistle, nobody seemed to relent. Everybody kept going and going and going. And even when people were kicked about, there was a bit of injuries. You could see these boys wanting to go back in. On several occasions, I saw the kids on the bench looking towards that coach like, put me in. And it just goes to show that football is alive and well in Africa, especially in the grassroots. They might not get as much support as is necessary, but that hasn't stopped us from enjoying the game and playing it as it should be played. When the game came to an end, I finally went out of the stadium, and I would be lying if I said I remembered much about what happened during the game. One thing I can tell you for a fact is that I enjoyed myself. I do not understand what language these people are speaking. I do not understand the songs they are singing, but I understand the passion. And football is a sport that has evolved beyond any language. The ball is the language itself, and we're all going to speak it, whether we like it or not.